Good morning and welcome to the 22nd year of King High School Remembers. I'm John Corona, the Senior Advisor for the project, and it is an honor and a privilege to welcome you to today's activities. For the second year in a row, we are presenting our project on a virtual platform because of COVID-19 concerns. It certainly isn't the program that we are used to, but we have been able to retain a great number of the program's tradition and culture, and I'm sure you will enjoy what we have to present to you today. At this time, I would ask that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. After the pledge, please remain standing for the national anthem as sung by the King High Choir. And then after that, please remain standing for a short ceremony of remembrance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As mentioned before, this is King High Remembers' 22nd year, and over that time, we've had the great fortune of having over 1,000 veterans share their stories with our students. Unfortunately, with each year, we are losing these vets to the rigors of time, and this year has been no different. You will see pictured here a table dedicated to the memories of 5 King High Remembers veterans who have gone on to the final roll call, and the close to 300 men and women who have gone before them. They were men and women who served their country in time of war and their communities in time of peace. I would ask for a moment of silence as I read the names of the most recently departed. When I am finished reciting the names, we'll hear the playing of taps. I ask, as we remember them, we remember those who never came home, and that we remember the King High graduates who are in the field today, representing the United States of America. The names of the most recently departed are Gunther Graybaugh, United States Marine Corps; William Hogue, United States Navy; John McGrew, United States Navy, United States Air Force; Was Wasmuller, United States Air Force; and Lee Konar, United States Air Force. Thank you and be seated. At this time, I wish to introduce Mr. Michael West, Principal of Martin Luther King High School.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. King High Remembers is one of, if not the best, event Martin Luther King High School puts on each and every year for a couple of different reasons. First, from an educational perspective, our 11th grade students get the opportunity to meet with and learn from an armed services veteran and gets to know the ins and outs of an individual military experience. These interviews and subsequent assignments provide a tremendous opportunity for students to gain firsthand insight and perspective on American history. King High Remembers also provides our local veterans a safe place to share their memories and experiences, and in some instances, show off their military swag. Many veterans have thanked us for this opportunity, as it provides an outlet for them to cull through their memories, and in some instances, deal with their emotions. What a great way to honor and serve our local servicemen and women. To put on an event such as King High Remembers takes many hours of meetings and planning among our social science department, coordinated support from our administrative team, participation from many other school programs and individuals, and finally, support from our school board and district office leadership. I would like to individually thank the members of the Riverside Unified Board of Education. First, Board President, Mr. Brent Lee. Board Vice President, Dr. Angelo Farouk. Board Clerk, Mr. Dale Kinnear. Board Member, Mrs. Kathy Olaby. And Board Member, Mr. Tom Hunt. I would also like to thank our wonderful Superintendent, Ms. Renee Hill. There are two individuals on our campus who are most responsible for King High Remembers and without whom this program just would not exist. First, the current lead organizer and backbone of the program, who puts in countless hours of organizing, communicating, and preparing, and whose leadership is simply invaluable. That's Mrs. Courtney Temple. And finally, the man who began this program 22 years ago as a modest class assignment and has since turned it into one of the premier events of its kind in the country, Mr. John Corona. Thank you both for all of your dedicated leadership throughout the years. At this time, I would like to introduce the President of the Board of Education for the Riverside Unified School District, Mr. Brent Lee.
Over the past 22 years, Martin Luther King High School has been able to put kids face to face with history. While it has been named the best history lesson in the Inland Empire, King High Remembers is also a program that serves our community. It builds a relationship between local veterans and students through conversation and storytelling. It celebrates the stories and histories of those who live among us, the ones who served and continue to serve their country and community. Each year, John Corona and the Martin Luther King Social Studies Department create something we should all be proud of, and this year is no different. While there is no sea of tables decorated in red, white, and blue, this year they've been able to bring you personally to the table. And while different, the magic that this program is able to produce does not end. Hopefully this year's event will still serve as a reminder to reach out to the others around you, to figure out different ways to find and make connections, and to motivate you to do more in your community when we are safely able to do so. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to have your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." So to the class of 2023 and all those who are watching, I hope you leave the event today like you would have if you were in person, inspired, willing to serve your community with a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love.
Again, welcome to King High Remembers. Over the past 2 years, it's been a real challenge for those of us connected to the project to make sure that it keeps going. There are a lot of things that have been lost or no longer exist because of the great challenge our nation has faced during this pandemic. But we were determined to keep this going, to keep it alive, until the day when we could once again gather in the school gym, face to face and hand in hand. The presentation you will see today is a result of that determination. As we did last year, a team of King High students will interview one veteran. Our interviewee today is Medal of Honor recipient, Master Sergeant Leroy Petry, who in May 2008 was serving with Company D, 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. Master Sergeant Petry served a total of 8 tours, 2 in Iraq and 6 in Afghanistan. Though this interview will center around the action that brought about his receiving of the Medal of Honor, you will find that there is much more to him than what took place that particular day. And now it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Master Sergeant Leroy Petry. He'll be interviewed by King High Juniors Brayden Rosa, Madeline Wilson, Julianna Barillas, and Sebastian Salgado, who will not only have their own questions, but will be incorporating questions submitted by the King 11th grade U.S. history students.
So hi, I'm Julianna Barillas, and I wanted to thank you so much for being out here today, Master Sergeant Petry. And thank you for being willing to talk with us and share your story. We're honored to have you. Do you think you could tell us a little bit about your background and what motivated you to first enlist in the Army?
I was born in 1979. I was the youngest of three brothers for about 13 years or so. And then my parents had another brother, and my mom had her tubes tied, and then somehow miraculously had another boy a year later. And so the middle of five boys, it was rough growing up. We didn't have all these video games and internet, and so we were outside playing. And as boys do, they're rough. And so it kind of helped me build resiliency at a young age to survive just with my brothers. But grew up watching a lot of action movies, Rambo and all the Stallone Rockies and all that. And I never really thought about the military. No one really served in the military in my immediate family. My older brother ended up serving for 4 years right before I got in, but my grandparents both served, and a few of my uncles served as well. And they never talked about their service. They had pictures of them in their living room in service uniform. And so even though they didn't talk about it, I knew it was something that they held in high regard, because whoever they invited into their home, amongst the family pictures, that was one of the pictures they would see, is them in their service uniform. And I wish they had talked about it a lot more. I wish I would have asked, but one of my uncles ended up deploying, I think, Desert Storm or Shield. I was still pretty young at the time. And I started asking the questions. Well, why is he going overseas? Why is he risking his life for people we don't even know? And it started to resonate that he wasn't doing it just for them. He was doing it for us and everyone here at home. And I looked at it as I was grateful. I didn't take anything for granted. I looked at how much my life was enjoyable here in the U.S. And I said, one day I'm going to give back. I'm going to join the military. Even if it's for 4 years, I'm going to do something. And whether or not I go to war, I want to stand guard like somebody did for me. And so when I got the opportunity, I graduated high school, and my grandfather pushed me toward college. I went for a semester, and it wasn't where I wanted to be at the time. And so I came home and was at home, and my dad said, "Hey, didn't college start last week?" And I said, "Yeah, but I leave on Wednesday to the basic training." And so I didn't plan it too well. That's how I broke it to my family, and they were happy. They said, "I'll wish you the best, and we know you'll do good." It was something that I had always wanted to do, and when I got the opportunity, I took it. And when I joined, I thought, I'm going to travel and I'm going to see the world, and it's going to be great. You get paid to work out and blow things up and shoot guns. Both my parents were vegetarians, so there wasn't a lot of hunting unless I snuck away with my uncles or something. But I looked at it and I said, I love it. And shortly thereafter, 9/11 happened. And instead of traveling and seeing the world, I traveled to Germany on the way to Iraq, or Germany on the way to Afghanistan. And so it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but then I got to see on the ground the difference we were making, the lives that were impacted, the fact that prior to 9/11, or right after 9/11, 9/12 and beyond, for a period of time, it was kind of like COVID lockdown. People weren't going out. They weren't going to concerts. They weren't getting on planes. They weren't going to big gatherings. And it wasn't fear of a disease or something. It was fear of terrorists, that terrorists were going to strike large crowds. And that was just the beginning. And I also thought about Pearl Harbor. And I thought about the history. And I said, this is what it must have been like during the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, where the nation came together as one. Didn't see any differences, Republican, Democrat, race, ethnicity, whatever. It was, everybody was patriotic and everybody was supporting the troops, even the kids. And it was only something I could read about, but then I got to experience it. And of course, back then we had a different hairstyle. It was put your hand up there and go ahead and cut around it. We called it a high and tight. And so anywhere you went, people knew you were in the military, and people would come up and say, thank you. And I live up in Washington State, and to be honest, there wasn't a lot of thanks before that. I think about our Vietnam veterans and how rough they had it, because they not only had to fight an unpopular war, they had to endure the hardest thing I could think of, and that's coming back to an ungrateful country where a lot of people blamed them. And I think that kind of carried on. And to me, I don't expect any thanks, but I know each one I received was special because it wasn't expected. So I loved it. And I got to see the difference we were making on the ground, and the citizens that were over there coming up and saying, hey, we love the Americans being here. Thank you. And it's what kept me re-enlisting and continuing to deploy, was seeing the difference on the ground that a lot of people back home didn't get to see on the television. The schools that were being built, the roads that were being built, everything that we were doing to help them build up their infrastructure, the education. I was excited in Afghanistan when I got to meet one of the women that were in parliament. And the young girls were going to school, which wasn't really allowed before then.
Good morning, Sergeant Petry. My name is Brayden Rosa, and thank you for being here with us this morning. Before we get into our questions, I just want to thank you for your service and for everything you have done for us, and for allowing us to have so many blessings that we don't even realize, such as being able to go to school safely and freely. So thank you for your service. We understand that Medal of Honor recipients risk their lives above and beyond the call of duty in actual combat against an armed enemy of the United States. Would you mind telling us your story of the event that led you to receiving the Medal of Honor?
Again, thank you for the thanks. I'm glad that you don't take anything for granted. It was my 7th deployment, 5th one to Afghanistan. And it just so happened to be Memorial Day 2008. And my platoon was attached to helicopters. So everywhere the Chinook helicopters would go, we would go. They had to go back to the main base in Bagram for maintenance. We'd go with them because we were the quick reaction force on helicopters, and which was great because we didn't have to really walk a whole lot. But we got put at an outstation. It was Fob Sharana, it was called, and that evening we had been told that high value target intel had basically found one moving within Afghanistan. They couldn't pinpoint it, but they said, when we do, whoever's closest is going to action on it. And basically they shut down all operations for Rangers, SEALs, Green Berets, everybody, special operations in the country. And so normally the Rangers operate during period of darkness. We'll go out and do missions, hopefully catch them while they're sleeping. And with the high value targets that we go after, they usually have a better PSD, like protection force, that's willing to fight to the death. And so if we could catch them while they're sleeping, way better for us. Two, we have the cover of darkness, and with our night vision and our lasers, we're able to have the upper hand. But also, catching them alive was more valuable than killing them. A dead terrorist can't talk. A live one tell you where all his friends are, where his networks are, and you can squeeze them for information. And so we that morning of Memorial Day 2008, I woke up and I went to check my email and in the leader's tent, and was on my laptop. There was only one other officer that was across the room from me on his computer. And during the daytime, we'd check email, do laundry, sleep, go to the gym, that kind of stuff. And I was sitting there for a few minutes, and all of a sudden he jumps up from behind his computer and he says, "Leroy, go wake up the pilots." I didn't even question him. Went straight over to the pilot's tent, woke him up, and I knew something was spinning up. So I immediately went and woke up my guys, started to tell them to check their equipment, get things ready. We went into the planning bay. At that time, a lot of the leaders were starting to gather, and we got intel that the high value target popped up in our area of operations. And so we did some quick planning, and I went to check on my guys before we started to load the helicopters. And I went into a small tent, our chow tent, and what I went to do was grab some what we call lickies and chewies. It's basically beef jerky or little snacks that you can shove in your cargo pocket. And what had happened was a few days earlier, we went out on a mission and we got stuck overnight longer than we expected. And for a lot of the younger guys, morale starts to go, "Oh man, we weren't supposed to be out here that long." They throw them a little bag of beef jerky and boost the morale a whole lot. And so as I'm in there, I walk in and I looking around this tent, and it's completely covered in red, white, and blue decorations everywhere. And I'm like, what's going on? That deployment, we had been so busy. I think I was there maybe a month or two at the time. And we were going out almost nightly, sometimes twice a night. Go out, execute mission, find another one, go back out. And so when you stay busy, time flies. And I get to the end of the table and I see this big sheet cake and it says Happy Memorial Day. And I paused, I paid my respects for a few moments, and I thought to myself, wow, it's already Memorial Day. I've already been here 2 months. Feels like I've only been here 2 weeks. But immediately ran out the door, checked my guys' kit, and then we started to load onto the helicopters. As we flew out during the daylight, it was a daylight raid, all these thoughts are going through my mind. One, over the mission, my responsibilities, and then I started going over contingencies. What am I going to do if somebody gets hurt? What am I going to do if this happens or that happens? And start looking around the helicopter. And one of my first sergeants probably said it the best. He said, normally you can't see the faces of the other Rangers in the helicopter because it's dark. All you see is a green filter through your night vision. Well, this was different, where you could see the emotions and you could see their expressions on their face. And everybody had the same butterflies, because historically, when we did daylight raids, which were rare, we take casualties because we're on a more even battlefield. And coming in on Chinook helicopters, those are the big ones with the 2 blades. They're also our faster helicopter. But going in on those, they were going to hear us 5-10 miles out coming in. And so they were able to prepare and hunker down. And that's one of the things I was thinking about is, okay, they're going to be ready. They're going to know we're coming. And next thing I know, we're touching down on our helicopter as the ramp goes down in the back, and we're starting to come off the ramp. We're taking fire. There's a guy in this open field, and let me paint a better picture for you. It's think of farmland. It's a very rural area. There's these compounds built out of like an adobe mud wall exteriors, and multiple compounds spread out throughout this basically farmland. And there's these terraces on the farmland that drop down about 2 feet between each one. And as we're taking fire, this guy's shooting at us, and we return fire, and politically correct term, we neutralize the threat. And as my platoon leader and I move up and we're clearing the body, we hear over the radio that one of our younger squad leaders had gone into the wrong compound. And so he was correcting it and going to the right one. And I looked at my platoon leader. I said, hey, I'm going to break off. I'm going to go with those guys, provide overwatch and guidance. And he said, okay, go for it. By the time I caught up to them, they had already breached the wall around this compound. And it was about 20-foot walls. And inside this compound, when you walk in, it was a big 2-story building in the back corner, diagonal from where they entered. And then adjacent to it was a smaller building, about 7 feet wide, probably about 7 feet long. And so they had already entered. I was the last guy in. They went directly into the 2-story building and started clearing. As I was the last guy, I stopped in the doorway and I said, give me some more guys. I need a guy. Meanwhile, I'm pulling security out in the courtyard and watching out. And next thing I know, I feel a tap on my shoulder. Didn't even look. I knew I had somebody with me, and we started to move so we could clear the courtyard and the adjacent small building. As we started to move, as we broke the corner and started to move to the other building, I saw him out of the peripheral vision because we were running as fast as we could. 2 guys, probably about 15, 20 feet away with AK-47s just spraying from the hip. Next thing I know, I get shot in my upper thigh on my left side. And I'd never been shot before. It felt like a sledgehammer just had hit me in the leg. And if you've ever seen a video of a deer getting shot while it's running, they kind of do this buck to the side, kind of throws them out of their gait. And that's exactly what happened. I kind of did this jerk to the side and then kept running because the thought in my mind was, oh crap, you got hit. Get out of the volume of fire before you get hit again. PFC Robinson, who was behind me, got shot just below his armpit. He followed me though, and we got behind that small building. First thing I told him is watch that corner. I started watching the other corner. My biggest fear is that they were going to come around and finish us off while we're injured. Well, the next thing I know, I'm sitting down, I'm on my radio, letting them know what's going on, watching my corner. I got my back to the wall, and I prep a grenade. I throw it over the building. It goes off, kind of buys us a lull in fire, and Sergeant Higgins, another ranger, came up, running across, and as soon as he got to us, I said, hey, help Robinson, watch that corner, and keep pulling security. So he's trying to help Robinson. Later we found out Robinson, we wear these side armor plates, which came out through probably 2007, I think. They were a great addition because normally all we had was a front plate and a back plate. And when you think about getting shot from the side, it was about 1/4 of an inch from going over his plate, and it would have killed him instantly. I mean, all your major organs are right here, heart, lungs. And so it saved his life, but because of the impact, he thought it had penetrated. And so Higgins is helping Robinson, watching that corner. I'm watching my corner. I'm on my radio. Next thing we hear a blast. And the guys turn around and they look at me and they're like, what the heck was that? I said, they're throwing hand grenades. Keep your heads down. Keep watching that corner. I get back on the radio. I'm telling my command what's going on. We got injured rangers. We got still heavy small arms contact. And I look over to watch my corner, and as I went back to do another check on my guys, I was almost in a crouched, seated position because my legs were hurting. I was shot in the left leg. I didn't know until later that bullet, I'm not sure if it was 1 or 2, but it penetrated through both my upper thighs. And that was the first miracle. I'll tell you, had that 7.62 AK-47 round is not a small round. And had that nicked one of my femoral arteries, I wouldn't be here today. And it just penetrated both my thighs, missed all the arteries, all the bone, and tore out a lot of flesh. But as I looked and to check on him, right behind him, sitting in between us, was a pineapple grenade. And I knew it wasn't one of ours because we stopped using pineapple grenades a long time ago. Ours are more like a baseball, rounded. And so it wasn't there before. I saw it as a threat. I looked at my guys and immediately reacted and reached over. I grabbed it. And as I was trying to throw it away from us, as I released my hand, I had my head down and I released my hand to open it up. It exploded. And when I sat back up, I grabbed my wrist, well, just below my wrist, and my hand was gone. It severed my arm right at the wrist. And I grabbed it and I was looking at it, and the radius and the ulna bones were sticking up about a half of an inch, and the skin was hanging around the edges, and it was bleeding, oozing, and I could smell the burns. It was pretty vivid. I could see where debris and dirt had gotten there, and I kind of looked at it for a second, and then strange what went through my mind, but I said, why isn't this thing spraying blood 3 feet in the air like in the movies? And then reality kicked back in, and I said, oh crap, I need to take care of this. I know what to do. Immediately grabbed a tourniquet off of my kit, tied it off with my teeth and hands, and checked on my guys. And both Higgins and Robinson had minor shrapnel. And I told them, continue to watch that corner. I focused, got back on my radio. And one of our first sergeants came running up to me, and he grabbed me by my kit, and he's trying to pull me up. He's like, come on, we're going to get you out of here. And I pushed his arm down. I said, you're not taking me anywhere, not till you stop the volume of fire that they're shooting around this building at us. I said, the enemy is more important. We can work on the casualties later. I don't want him or someone else to become a casualty trying to comfort me. And so he saw that I was coherent. I had already started self-aid, and he said, all right, we'll come back for you. And then he had left to go try to flank. And for whatever reason, we got another lull in fire. I was able to grab onto another Ranger and run out of there with Robinson and Higgins till we got to our casualty collection point where all the medics are and whatnot. And as I get in there, I'm looking around, and there's blood everywhere, and they're treating other guys. And one of our docs comes running up to me, and he says, Petry, we need to treat you. And I said, I'm good. I already got a tourniquet. I stopped the bleeding, helped those guys. And he looks at me and he goes, well, we got to take a look at your legs. And I completely forgot about my legs with the adrenaline and rush and everything. I didn't feel any pain. And I looked down, and my pants were soaked from my thighs all the way to my boots. And mentally, I did not want to leave the fight. I didn't want them to put me in a stretcher. I didn't want to leave my guys. But physically, I knew I was running out of blood. And I said, okay. I sat down, and they cut off my pants and put tourniquets over both my legs, put me in a stretcher. And as they were preparing me for medical evacuation, guys are grabbing the stretcher. The helicopter's supposed to be coming in, and they're carrying me across this little field and up this little hill. And guys are running up to the stretcher, and they're like, hey, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. We're going to get him for you. And I'm pushing them away with my one good arm. I'm like, get away from me. I'm good. Go pull security. And my focus as a leader was, I don't want them to get shot coming to comfort me while I'm in that stretcher. 2, I don't want to get shot in the stretcher while I can't defend myself. And so that was always upmost in my mind, is taking care of my guys. And as we loaded onto the helicopter, I remember Sergeant Higgins leaning over me and saying, hey, you saved us. You saved us. And of course, leader mentality, great, get on the bird, hurry up. Because the faster you get on, faster they could close the door and we can get out of here. Because it's a big target to be in a helicopter. But when I thought about my guys and protecting them, it was an easy thing to do. I looked at guys around me like my kids, like my brothers, like my family. And had they ever been in harm's way like that, I would have done the same for them. And I kind of had an unwritten promise to the families of those guys I was with to do everything in my power to bring them home alive. And that was one of the things I feared most, was that I would have to come home and I'd have to hand a folded flag to a mother, child, father, or surviving family member, someone who had been killed in combat. And I know you can't prevent everything because it's war. But if I had to do that, I wanted to know that I did my best to prepare them for combat and also to protect them. And, got medevaced, went to a clean out at Bagram Airfield, stayed conscious for quite a long time. Woke up in Germany the next morning. I felt good, but because I was alive, and I got the opportunity to call my wife. And I knew that rear detachment, if your spouse or next of kin is local, they'll go to the door and tell them what they best know of what happened to you. Whether you're killed in action, they'll come in dress uniform. If you're wounded in action, they'll come in a more fatigued camouflage uniform. And my wife told me about Memorial Day back home that my mother-in-law would come into town every now and then to help out with the kids. And they were in their nightgowns having coffee in the morning, and they got the knock at the door. And she walked up to the door and she looked through that peephole, and she saw the tan beret. She didn't even look at the uniform that they were in, and she walked away from the door and said, "Mom, you're going to have to get the door. Send the kids upstairs." And she says it was the worst day of her life. And of course, I joke with her and I say, "Honey, it wasn't my best day either." But so when I got to call her, I'm trying to think to myself, what do I tell her? How do I let her know I'm in good spirits? Because I'm sure she's going to be distraught. And so I called, and she answered the phone and said, "Honey, I'm in Germany. I got shot through both my thighs, and I lost my right hand right about the wrist." And the phone is dead silent. Miraculously, 4 days later, I was in San Antonio doing rehab. So the medical advances that came from this war are amazing. It opened new doors too. So it was a good thing. I always try to look at the positive. I did hit that brick wall where I was like, great, my life of being a ranger in the Army is done. How am I going to support my family with one hand? What's my life going to be like after this injury? And I don't know if many of you have seen that movie, Shawshank Redemption. There was one line that stuck out to me, and he said, "Get busy living or get busy dying." Kind of like that, don't cry over spilled milk. That's what really changed my mind. Was I said, I could either wallow about this or I can make the best of it, because I'm still here. And every day when I wake up and I open my eyes and I breathe air into my lungs, I know I'm blessed with another day, another opportunity to make a difference in others' lives and my own. And so I don't take it for granted.
My name is Sebastian Salgado, and once again, it is an honor to be able to interview you. And I have a question from Slater Rax from Mr. Ramirez's 6th period, and he asks, how do you feel about receiving the Medal of Honor? Did you ever think you would ever receive this kind of commendation?
I didn't. I didn't think I would ever receive an accommodation like this. In fact, when I went to NCO school for become a sergeant, I was already a senior sergeant. I went late because I was deployed, and most of the junior ranking guys were there. We had, at the end of the class, we had a ball where we had to get in our dress uniform. And as I'm looking at these younger troops and their uniforms, I mean, they're ribbons, all their awards. I mean, some of those guys are stacked. And I'm looking down at my ribbons at the time, and I'm like, I got all the gimme ribbons for joining. And then I got an AAM, which Army Achievement Medal. It's the lowest medal you could get for the most part. And I looked at it and I said, what's wrong with me? Why do those younger guys have more awards than I do? And I started asking them what they received their awards for. And it made me look back at mine and say, okay, yours were kind of given to you. I earned everything that's on my chest. And so it made me feel better that knowing that I earned it. And one of the things, though, that you never do anything for awards. And that's where the misconception comes out, where some people may call Medal of Honor recipients winners. And they're not winners, they're recipients. It's not a contest. You don't put your name in a hat or lottery pick. And I think one of the recipients probably said it best when you didn't need recognition for what you did. The best feeling was knowing that the guys you were on the ground with that day thought you were worthy of putting in for it. And to me, my son probably said it the best. He was probably 7 at the time. It was a couple of years after the injury when I got awarded, 2 days after the ceremony at the White House. They took us all, the whole family, to New York, and we're on the Fox and Friends, I think, on the couch, live, 6 o'clock in the morning. We're all exhausted. And they pan over to him, who's the youngest, and they said, how do you feel about your dad receiving the Medal of Honor and going to the White House and meeting the president? As the camera pans, I'm looking down the couch, and I'm going, oh, crap. He's 7 years old. What's he going to say? This is live TV. My buddies are going to give me all kinds of grief over this. And he sits up a little straighter. He takes a deep breath. He looks directly in the camera. And he says, I'm really proud of my dad. I'm more happy that he saved some of his buddies and they're still alive. And couldn't be prouder. He got it. He understood at a young age. Not the accolades that come, but the difference that you can make in somebody's life. And Robinson and Higgins both served for a period of time afterwards. They're both doing well. They got families of their own, and that's a great thing. And so the medal, I really didn't care. I knew it was recommended. The difference that you make in lives lasts a lifetime. And one of my favorite quotes was by Ronald Reagan, who said, we can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. And then, I don't know if you all watched the new Spider-Man, but I always catch weird little details. Spider-Man's Aunt May died, and he's at her gravestone. And on her headstone, it was inscribed with, when you help someone, you help everyone. And it's not about you doing your best or standing out. It's about us all together as one, doing our best. And that's the difference with a lot of our service members and veterans, is that they understand teamwork and initiative and leadership, character and values of trust and honesty, integrity, all those values that make you who you are. And one of our recipients, Gary Luttrell, probably said it the best. He says, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? He says, I'm not talking about your freckles and your pretty little ponytails and all that, but who are you? Do you like the person who you are? Do others around you respect you for who you are? Or is it because you're popular? So being a person of good character is the most successful thing you can do in your life. And so this medal, I mean, it's quite an honor. It's a blessing and a curse all in one. But to me, it represents all those who have served, all those who are serving, especially those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. But it's more of a symbol. It's a symbol that any of us is capable of great things, that you don't need to be given an award to be, or even be recognized at all to be a hero to somebody. You could be a hero to somebody simply by listening to their problems when they're having a bad day. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different skills. Look at what you're good at and share it with others. Don't use it just for yourself. Make everyone around you better. And that's really what changes our future. It starts with us, citizens, patriots, being good neighbors, being good at whatever we can do in life to make our lives better and our communities better where we live. And hopefully everyone around the nation does the same. I do want to share something with you. I know I'm getting off the questions a little bit, but I think it's extremely important. I wasn't a good kid. I was a terrible kid. I ditched school a lot. I hung around with bad kids who basically convinced me that it was a good idea to ditch school. I got in a lot of fights, got suspended. Both my parents worked hard to give us the best life that they could for all of us. They were usually gone to work before we went to school, usually home well after we had been home from school, and sacrificed a lot for us. And one day I was checking the mail because I knew report cards were coming in the mail, and they didn't have digital back then. So I got to see it before mom and dad got home. So I knew what kind of butt chewing or whipping I was going to get. And I opened it up and I looked at it and I saw my name at the top of this report card, Leroy Arthur Petry, student ID. And then as I looked down, I looked at the grades, F, 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 D, F. And the D was in bakery. And I was like, geez, guess I only show up for snacks and I don't do that very well either. But I looked up and down the street and I was the only one outside and kind of had an epiphany at that point. I said, I'm letting everybody down. I'm letting my teachers down. I'm letting my parents down. I'm letting everybody down who hopes the best and tries to set me up for the best around me. And I said, my dreams of joining the military, they're not even going to take me with these grades. And if somebody gets this piece of paper, they're not going to know who Leroy is. They're going to judge me off of that paper. They're going to look and they're going to say, he doesn't even try. He doesn't give an effort. We don't want him. And so I made a conscious decision at that point to stop hanging around with those bad influences and those kids I was with. And I asked my parents if I could change schools, and I started asking more questions and surrounding myself with people that supported me and who really pushed me. And I made straight A's the rest of my high school time until I graduated. And it goes back to who you surround yourself with as well. You surround yourself with good characters, you'll be a good character. And those people that influence you that don't accept your choices, they're probably people you don't want to be around. And there's not a popularity contest when you get out into the real world. And so that was one of the things I looked at that really impacted and changed my life. Was I was able to learn at a young age that I was failing everyone around me and myself. And I could change that. And every day, the choices we make, that decides our future. And it's never too late to change your mind and go down a different road.
That was really inspiring. My name is Madeline Wilson, and I have a question from Ethan Thomas, who wonders if you cherish the camaraderie you've shared and possibly still share with buddies and fellow veterans who have been deployed to Afghanistan or the Middle East.
Absolutely. Not only the ones that deployed with me, but the ones I served with and the ones that are serving today and the ones that served previous to me. I cherish all that camaraderie with all the veterans. I look at the resources we have today, the online. It's just given me an opportunity I wish I could be there in person, but I could still connect with you. And when I travel, I'm sure whether or not I was a Medal of Honor recipient, just being a veteran, if I was in the middle of, say, Kansas, and my car broke down or whatever, I'm sure I could get online and say, hey, is there any veterans in this area or VFW or an American Legion? And people will reach out, and you got friends that you never knew you had, because that quality of serving and that character goes a long way, where they'll open their homes to you and say, hey, you can sleep on my couch tonight, I'll help you. And so that bond that you build is amazing. The hardest part, they say, is transitioning out of the military. And it's different for everybody because we all go to different places. We all go to different areas of the country, wherever we choose to live. The hardest part is that camaraderie that you miss. Like I talked about, the characters that you're surrounded by, the people that share the same values, that know what teamwork and initiative and all that is.
That's incredible. Those values seem to be really important. And we really appreciate you talking about character like that. That's an amazing example. And so I know I speak on behalf of many students here at Martin Luther King High School who are hoping to join the military in the future. When I ask if you have any advice or even any warnings about life in the force.
I think the best advice is surround yourself with good people, but also ask questions. A lot of times people are afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I know when we'd have a general or something, leaders would always be, don't embarrass me, don't ask a stupid question to the general. And there's some things you could ask your buddies and stuff, but no question is stupid. Because if you don't know the answer, that's knowledge. That's something that may help you be better. But do something every single day to better others and yourself. I think you'll be successful that way. And I'll tell you, I was listening to the radio and one day and on the way home from the airport and said, how do you measure success? As long as you're doing something positive with your life and you're not taking away from others, I'm happy. And I think being grateful for what you have and not taking things for granted and always showing appreciation. So I love quotes, but I saw this one, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it basically said, always show appreciation. What's taken for granted will eventually be taken away. And then you end up missing most what you least appreciated. So the one thing that I wouldn't take for granted is your time. That is our most precious resource as humans. You can't buy more of it, no matter how much money you have. You don't know how much you have or when it'll be taken away from you. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. So take advantage of your time to do the best you can with the life you have. One of the things I always told my guys was I trained them on things that weren't given to us as tasks because I wanted to make them better. And they'd be like, oh, why are we doing this? I said, you may need it, you may not. But it's better to have and not need than need and not have. And I'm still continuing my education because that was one of my goals. And I tell my kids that education is the best thing you can have. Learning something every day will make you better.
Building off of inspiring others through leadership, we hear you are the president of the Medal of Honor Society. Can you tell us more about the society and your role within it?
I was recently elected in September as the president of the Medal of Honor Society, and huge honor, but also a lot of weight goes with that. Constantly working, emails nonstop, phone calls. It's tough. I got sick for 2 weeks and I'm still trying to catch up. This was a month and a half ago, but it's a huge honor because I get the opportunity to lead into the next couple of years and the opportunity to make it better and leave it better than what I found it. And that's always been the benchmark of the Rangers, is always leave it better than you found it. It's tough though, because we have 66 recipients living today. And of those 66, we have 1 World War II, 3 Korea. I can't think of the numbers off the top of my head, but most of them are Vietnam. And then there's like a handful of us from Global War on Terrorism. And we average about 70 years of age, and you bring in all kinds of different characters, and as you bring us together, and everybody has their opinions, and so you get to hear all 65 opinions and decide what's best interest of our programs. And I'll tell you, one of the things I looked at was it was a tough decision to make to run for president of the society, because it's a huge task, and it is a no-fail mission, and it demands a lot. But I looked at it. I've been a member of the society for 11 years now, and I looked at a lot of the older recipients who have been leading the society throughout the years, and it was time to give them a break, time for the younger guys to step up to leadership. As will happen in everyone's future, the younger generation will always take over. And what you hope is that you've mentored and you've groomed them to be the best they can and do the best they can. And as long as you do the best you can, nobody can expect any more from you. But it is an honor that I love. It's a challenge. But it is an opportunity to make it better. Like I said, carry it into the future, and we're expanding more into the media and the social media, because most people don't know what a Medal of Honor recipient is. Most people know what a Purple Heart is and a Silver Star or Bronze Star. And so whenever I get a chance, when I go places, that's why I wish I kind of had been there in person. I'm one of the recipients who will take this medal off, and I'll pass it around the room so everybody gets an opportunity to hold it and look at it and see it. And if we don't educate people on it, they'll continue to not know. And there's a lot of misconceptions. Oh, you're rich now and you get everything for free. And it's like, no. But it's given me the opportunity to take care of the other recipients the best I can, to support our programs, like our character development program, our Valor Outreach program, engaging with veterans and military and citizens. And there's a lot of misconceptions about a lot of our military out there that I'm trying to bridge that communication with different organizations that support our military and youth.
So for you and other veterans, Eric Bedoya from Mr. Ramirez's class would like to know, how can we best support you guys?
I think the best support you can give us that would comfort us is knowing that you guys are doing your best every day. When I do get to go visit schools, as I'm walking into the school, the first thing I look around I look around the campus. And is there trash all over the place? Just like you'd walk into somebody's house. You say, okay, do they care about, do they have pride in their school? Do they have pride in themselves? And it's like that trash on the ground. You're walking by with your friends. And do you stop and pick it up? Or are you more worried about them saying, well, what are you, the janitor now? And because outsiders will look at your school and look at your pride that you have in your school and yourselves. Yeah, that may be the janitor's job, but it's your school. Whether you own it or not, you're part of that team. And you want it to be represented the best you can. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault if there's trash out there, but it's, I think supporting us is by doing your best and setting the example for others to follow. And directly supporting us, we engage with a lot of companies and businesses to support us, but just sharing the stories. And like I said, there's not many recipients alive today, but there is heroes all around you. And that could be your local veterans. Listen to their stories. They probably have just as great stories as we do. In fact, I tell people, I got a lot of great stories. I said only one was highlighted I said, and there's some stories out there that aren't told because nobody survived to tell them, or nobody asked those questions to know more. Just like I spoke about my grandfathers. I wish I had asked when they were still around, because I didn't take advantage of that time. It's gone, and I can never know the true story from their own mouths. Be a person of good character. I think that's how you can support us the most, is give us confidence in the future by doing the best you can every single day.
Speaking of doing one's best, Isabella Keller is interested to know what has been the greatest challenge or fear that you have faced in your life.
Like I said, I was always afraid of having to hand that folded flag over to a surviving loved one. And people always ask me, was I ever afraid when I was in combat? I tell them every single day. My fear, though, wasn't of dying. I made my peace with God and my family every time I kissed them goodbye. I knew I might not be coming back. That was a reality. But my biggest fear was missing a sniper in a window, missing a IED in the middle of the road, missing an opportunity to train my guys on something that could have saved their lives. And so I always look at fears, and the same way I looked at life, you can either dwell on it or you can make something of it. And so I turned that fear into awareness. I focused more on training my guys at multiple tasks. I didn't get complacent, even though I'd been down that same road 100 times. It's that one time that you're not looking in that window, there's going to be a shooter there possibly. And so not getting complacent and turning your fear into something that you can grow from, I think is one of the biggest things that I don't know what fears I really have today. You're going to have challenges throughout your entire life. You're all going to face some type of adversity if you haven't already. But getting through that adversity is what's going to make you stronger. And the best advice I can give you on that is, from the day you're born till the day you die, you're not alone. You're never by yourself until you choose to be. You can always ask somebody for help. Complete strangers will help you if you simply ask. Pick up the phone and call somebody. And in turn, you got to be that person for others as well. And so looking at things at a different view of what's popular and what's smart, I think helps guide you through that fear of, I may not want to do this, but it has to be done. I want to play with my friends this evening on Xbox, but I know I have a essay that needs to be turned in tomorrow. Choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. I'll always do my best, but I feel like I can always do more.
While deployed, was there something special you kept with you for good luck?
Family pictures. Couldn't really carry them on me. It was just one of those things that if you get captured, that's not something you want the enemy to have. And so they were in my bags by my bed or my cot, depending on what year it was. But that was something I could always come back to. And early on in the war, there wasn't all this social media and everything. And your communication for us, our first couple of deployments, was we had an Iridium phone, satellite phone, and there's probably about 40 of us. And you got to use it maybe once a week for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to touch base with home. But everything else was mail. And so you might, because we bounced around a lot around the country, you might not get a letter till 2-3 weeks after they had sent it. And I funny story, my first deployment, I hadn't received any mail or anything. And it was about 2 weeks before we were coming home. And at the time I was dating this girl who was military intelligence. And she wrote me a letter. So I get this letter from her, and she said, "Dear Leroy, just think you get to come home in a couple weeks." She knew our deployment window because she was military intelligence, and she said, "Let me get to the bottom of this letter, or why I'm writing this letter. I hate to tell you what I need to in a letter, but you just haven't been the same since you came back from Ranger School, and I've only seen you 3 months in the past year and a half, and that's just not what I want." And we were young, and we were gonna break up anyways. But I looked at that letter, and I was like, "Wow, I got a Dear John letter at war." And I didn't let it crush me. And what I did was, when I got home, we had a trophy case that things from previous wars and stuff were put in there. And I took that letter and I put it in that case. And it's still there today at my unit. And it actually means more now than it ever did, because these young troops that are serving now that might have that girlfriend or wife or whatever, that they have a hard breakup and they're having a hard time going through it, can look at it and say, "Wow, Leroy got a Dear John letter too. I guess I could get through this too." And so like I said, that negative turning into a positive, and how you look at things. You could either look at it as, "Oh, this hurt. It's not easy. It's not by any means, but you could get through just about anything in life."
And regarding your time in the Army, what was the greatest experience you've had in there?
I don't think I can nail it down to one thing. I enjoyed it all. You look at every job or career you have in your life, and they're all going to have their ups and downs. And you just got to look at it and say, do the ups outweigh the downs? And my entire time in the Army, they always did. I think I loved it all.
So both throughout your military career and after your military career, how have you used your experiences and always found that strive and motivation to inspire others to be their best?
I think it's the people, like I said, the people around you, and that the leaders I had, people I served with, inspired me. The people I surround myself with today, and the people I meet, they're inspiring to me. Take your teachers, for example. I didn't realize this till I was a parent myself, that I explained this to Mr. Corona, that the teachers, they have more time with our kids from kindergarten through senior year of high school. A lot more time than most parents do with those kids. And we rely on them to do the best they can to teach you not only reading, writing, and arithmetic, but about values, about life. And I look at people like that don't ever get the big pat on the back or accolades or recognition that they deserve. Their pay is not so good either. But they do it because they get the opportunity to hopefully inspire you to be your best. And hopefully one day they could look at you and say, "Yeah, that was one of my students. They did real good. I'm proud of them." And so I get inspired by people too. I tell people that I don't really like being called a hero. I have my heroes too. I guess they're superheroes, but we all choose our direction in life and the choices we make based off inspiration. At some point in your life, someone will stand out and inspire you to do something or take a different direction in your life. And hopefully that's all you can do, is keep an eye out for those moments of great inspiration that guide you on your path through this life.
As a JROTC cadet, do you have any advice or anything to say to any other students who are interested in joining the military?
Go Army. I'm just joking. Any branch is great. I think the advice I'd have, it's kind of like I get asked by a lot of troops that are going to Ranger School. Hey, I'm going to Ranger School. Do you have any advice? They say it's the hardest school in the Army, and I'd argue with that, but it is challenging. And I tell them my advice is look to your left and to your right every day. Because at some point, you'll look to your left and to your right, and you'll see somebody on the side of you down the road that's we call sucking, not doing so good, not having a good time. And I said, it's on those days you go pick them up and try to help them out. Because I guarantee you at some point during your time at that school, you're going to be, somebody else is going to be looking at you as their left or right that's not doing so hot, in hopes that they come and they pick you up and they help you out on those days. And so as go in with an open mind. It's not going to be easy. But like I said, you're not alone. And the more prepared you can be, the more educated more education you pursue on your career path, the better off you're going to be setting yourself up for success. That's anything in life, but enjoy it. That's my one piece of advice: is all the ups and downs. Enjoy it because you'll turn around one day and it'll be over. And you'll say, "Wow, I missed that." And like myself and many other veterans, you'll find a way to still be around the veterans or give back and say, I love that. I want to be a part of that. I miss it. How can I stay attached somehow, some way, still have an impact? So my best advice is enjoy it. And even the good times and the bad times. My first two leaders, my team leader and my squad leader, hated them like no tomorrow. They scuffed me up quite a bit. Sometimes I needed it. But I look back at it now, and I was young. And I realized that when they would make me do push-ups and all this exercises and yell at me, and sometimes I'd be like, oh, I hate these guys. Why did I sign up for this? Looking back on it, once I got past that mental block that, hey, it's just PT, physical training. Doing push-ups, it's only going to make me better. They can only scuff me up till I reach muscle failure. I said, it's making me better. I'm enjoying it. And then I didn't care when they did it anymore. And as long as it didn't threaten my well-being, I got past it. It was easy. Those mental blocks that you think about, that I talked about, looking at them in a different way. Now I look back at them, that was the best thing they could have done for me. It helped me build resiliency. I thanked them for that. I was like, you know what? I needed that. I needed to grow up. I needed to stop worrying about the little things in life and look at the big picture. Because a lot of times we start to get tunnel vision and we only see the here and now. We don't see why they're doing things that they do. And do your best every day, and don't try to stand out. It's just being yourself and doing your best will make you stand out.
Well, is there anything else you want to add or say, Sergeant, in regard to our conversation today?
Don't be afraid to step up to the challenges. I do want to say thank you for this opportunity. This is probably every one of our recipients' favorite things, is to engage with our youth, because we know you are our future, and hopefully we cross paths one day. That even if we don't, I'm going to put good faith in you all of doing your best to be people of good character and to educate those around you with the same values that you hold dear and making this world a better place. So thank you all for taking the time, doing what you do, and to the teachers and staff. Can't thank you enough for setting this up and giving me this opportunity. I'm grateful.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking the time, Sergeant Petry. And one of my things with veterans, since we've been running the project for the last 20 years, you've come to realize a couple of things about vets. You know, they serve their country first of all, but even once they leave the days of the uniform behind, they continue to serve their communities and their country, and that's exactly what you're doing here. And we really, really appreciate the time that you've taken. And I speak for the students and for Ms. Temple and everybody involved. We really appreciate your service and the service you're performing now and the time that you've taken to be with us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I feel the same way as all those veterans. I don't think of myself any different than any of those other veterans. I was just happy to be on the same team and wear our nation's flag on my shoulder and serve the best I could. We don't get to choose whether we go to combat or not. That's decided for us, but we just do our best we can for everyone around us. So you all are continuing to share those important things, and I can't thank you enough.
Please join me in thanking Master Sergeant Petry for taking time from his very busy schedule to be with us today. We are pleased that he could join us in producing an event to bring the community together and to recognize the sacrifices our veterans made to make our freedoms possible. As always, there are a lot of people to thank for putting this program together. 22 years doesn't necessarily happen by accident, especially the last 2 years. We all owe a great debt of thanks to the King teachers and King administration, especially those teachers in the King Social Science Department, and especially our operations manager, Courtney Temple, who in her first year in the job was extraordinary in her efforts. I am thankful to the RUSD Communication Department for their work in putting this presentation together for us. I'm thankful to our school board, RUSD leadership, and Superintendent Renee Hill for their unwavering support of our program. We owe a debt to our various sponsors, our PTSA, our alumni parents, and the class of 2023. For me in particular, I want to thank my family, my wife Nanette, who I love very much and who has been so supportive of the project and what it stands for all these years. I want to thank my 3 boys, one of which is currently serving with the 25th Infantry Division in Hawaii, my 95-year-old mom, my brother, my sister, my extended family. They all have been extremely supportive, and I'm thankful and appreciative of that. I'm thankful that King High Remember gives me a chance every year to honor my dad, James Corona, who served in World War II. And I'm thankful for all the veterans who have been with us in the past and who I know will be with us in the future. I see a lot of you around town or in meetings, and I know that you all want us to get back to our face-to-face conversation and collaboration. And we hope, of course, that in 2023, we'll have that opportunity again. What our veterans have done through their participation in this project is to serve our students, to serve our community, and to continue to serve our country. That's what Master Sergeant Petry did today. He continues to serve. This project has always been a partnership between those vets, our students, and Martin Luther King High School. I say to you students watching, today made you part of that partnership. You are the future these people serve for. You owe them the very best you can give to our country, to our community, and to yourself. Thank you for all taking part today, and don't forget, at King High, we remember.